Hello everyone, my name is Sang Liam and I'm back with the 11th Python lesson. In this lesson, we'll be going over some more advanced turtle graphics and learn how to do more advanced stuff than the previous turtle lesson. So just as a quick review, Turtle is a module that's used for graphics in Python. If you haven't watched the previous video on turtle graphics already, then be sure to check that out before watching this one. A quick code review of what we did with Turtle. So to import it, first we write import turtle, and then we name our turtle, so we'll just call it T. It's equal to turtle.pen. And then in chapter 4, we created a square using this code. And then in chapter 6, we used loops and changed this code by using a for loop. So we reset this and then create a for loop. Now let's get on to the more advanced drawing stuff. So first we're going to be drawing some stars and then we'll be drawing a car. So with drawing a car, we're going to use some new functions, new turtle functions. They are color, begin fill, end fill, circle, and set heading. And I'll explain more about these functions once we're done with the stars and we get started drawing the car. We can alter the code we use to draw a square a little bit and start drawing stars instead. So to draw a star, first let's draw an 8-pointed star. So let's change the range to 1 to 9 and go forward by 100 pixels and then change the angle to 225. And then to prevent the screen from closing right away, let's also call the turtle.done, which keeps the screen from closing right after it's done. So this is our 8-pointed star. And then we can draw a 37-pointed star, which is a slightly different looking star, by changing the range again to 38, and then changing the angle. And there we have our 37-pointed star. Now, altering this code slightly, we can create a different kind of star that actually kind of looks more like what you would see in a spirograph rather than a star. And to do this, we just change the angle that we're turning to less than 180. So let's change this to 95 and also change the range. And there we have our kind of spirograph looking star. We can also create a star where the turtle turns a different number of degrees at different points. So to do this, we're going to use an operation called the Modulo Operator. And this is an operator that looks like a percent sign. So let's type in this code right here. And what this code does is basically it asks if x modulo 2 is equal to 0, then turn left by 175, and if not, then turn left by 225. And so to give an example, if x is 1, then 1 modulo 2 is 1. It's not 0, so then we would turn 225. And if x is 2, then 2 modulo 2 is 0, in which case we turn left by 175. So the modulo operator is essentially just a remainder operator, and it's asking if we divide x by 2, is the remainder 0 or not 0? And so you can just think of the modulo operator as the remainder. And so if we run this code, we'll get a star that looks like this. So you can see here that it turns 175 and then 225 and so on around the star to create a star that looks like this. So now that we've drawn some stars, let's get started on drawing the car. But first, we need to look at some of the functions. So first, we have the function color, and this has 3 parameters. So the first one is the amount of red, and the second one is the amount of green, and then the amount of blue. And so we can combine these red, green, and blue colors to create any color that we want. And so right now we're going to use a kind of percent system where 100% is 1, but sometimes we also use up to 255 instead of using this kind of 1 and 0 point whatever system. But today we're going to be using a kind of percent system. So for example, to get pure red, we would do 1, 0, 0, and to get yellow, we would use 1, 1, 0. And you might be asking, how do we get yellow if yellow, blue, and red are primary colors? Well, that's because these are this is a different kind of color system that has to do with light. And so the three primary colors, red, yellow, blue, that we're used to seeing in art is mainly for things like paint. And in this system, we're using light. And so for this, the more colors we add, the closer we get to white. While for the paint system with red, yellow, and blue, the more colors we add, the closer we get to black. So the mixing will be slightly different in this one, but it's essentially the same idea as mixing paints together. And now so this is what the red, green, blue kind of color system looks like. So we can combine red and green to get yellow, and then red and blue to get magenta, and so on. We also have begin fill and end fill. So these are just used to fill in an area of the canvas with the color. So begin fill tells Turtle to start filling with a color, and then end fill tells Turtle to stop filling with this color. And then circle just draws a circle of a size, so you put the size as the parameter, and then it'll just draw a circle of that size. Set heading tells the turtle to face a particular direction. So again, the directions are, if it was facing 0, it would be facing right, 90 degrees is up, and then 180 is left. And then it continues on for the full 360. So this is the direction system that Turtle uses for things like set heading and setting the turtle position. Alright, now let's move on to drawing the car. So here's a picture of what the car is supposed to look like when we're done. See if you can figure out what the code is going to be. Pause the video, try it out, and then I'll reveal the answer in a couple seconds. Alright, here is the code for the car. It looks like a lot, but it's actually quite simple once we start to break it down. So first we want to set the color to red, so 1, 0, 0, since it's red, green, blue. Start filling, so say that we want red to be the color that we fill the shape in with. First, we want to go forward by 100, so if we look at this, we can see this. So since the turtle starts here, go forward by 100, and then turn left by 90, and then go forward by 20. So turn left by 90, which means it's pointing upwards now. And then go forward by 20, turn left again, so it's facing left, go forward by 20, and then we want to turn right, forward by 20, and then left, forward by 90. So right, forward by 20, left, forward by 90, and so on. And if you just follow this code and look at it, then you will get this shape. It's hard to make this into a loop because this isn't a kind of repeating shape, it just is a random shape. And so now let's move on to doing the wheels. I'll also give you a few seconds to pause the video, try drawing both wheels. Here's a picture of what it should look like with both of the wheels, and then I'll again reveal the answer in a few seconds. Here is the code for both of the wheels. Let's again break down this code. So first we want to set the color to 0, 0, 0, which is black. Remember that because this is different from the red, yellow, blue, the more colors we add, the closer it gets to white. So if we were to do 1, 1, 1, it would be white. So if we do 0, 0, 0, then since it's the opposite, it's black. So first we need to lift up our pen to make sure that we don't draw anything, and then we go forward by 10 pixels, not drawing anything because our pen is up, and then put our pen down. So this is where it starts drawing the circle. And then we can start filling with the color black, and then we create a circle with radius 10, and then end fill. So this is one wheel, and then again we set the heading to 0 so that it's pointing towards the right, which means it's straight and it's not up or left or anything like that. Again, we pick our pen up, we move forward by 90 pixels, so this is that distance over here, and then we go right by 90 and then forward by 10 to get to where we want to be, circle, and then we again put the set heading to 0 and then start filling, put our pen down so that it actually draws something, and then again draw a circle of radius 10 and then end filling. So this is how we get 2 wheels in our car. That's all for drawing a car, but now we're going to draw some simple shapes like circles, squares, and stars using functions. So we'll create a function from the code that we used in the car to draw a filled circle. Let's call the function that we're going to use to draw filled circle my circle. And then the parameters will be, of course, red, green, and blue to denote the colors that we're going to use. And using this function makes it a lot easier to change the color of a circle. So first we'll set the color to whatever the color is, and then start filling, and then we'll create a circle of radius 50, or whatever size you want it to be, and then end fill. So to call this, we just want to call my circle, and then let's just try 1, 0, 0. And this will be red. So we can see it drew and filled a red circle with radius 50. We can also try some other color combinations. We can try green. We can draw a darker green circle by using only 0.5, because remember, the closer it is to 0, the less colors we're mixing, which means the darker the color is going to be. And we can also try some more fancy colors like gold. So this is a specific number that you'll just have to search up on Google for any specific colors that you want that aren't easily obtainable with like red, green, and blue. But this will create a kind of gold color. And there's also light pink. So just play around with these colors, experiment, maybe draw some shapes using the other shapes that we used while drawing stars in the previous part of this video. And yeah, just have fun with this. We can also create pure black and white. We've already used these in the car and in other places, but let's just review once more. So because this goes by kind of light spectrum, the more colors you add, the closer it is to white, which means if you do 1, 1, 1, you'll get white, and if you do 0, 0, 0, you'll get black, as we saw in the car wheel in the previous drawing. Yep, so it drew a white circle, that's why we can't see anything. And this time, instead of having red, green, and blue, we'll have size. But you can also include red, green, and blue if you'd like to put in the circle if you'd like to put in the color as well as the size. And we'll use a loop for this and do it from 1 to 5 since there's 4 sides. Go forward by whatever the size is, since that's one side of the square, and then turn left by 90. And then if we call this, we'll get a square. We can try this with the different sizes to get an interesting looking shape. So we'll create one that's 25. We went in increments of 25, and then we'll get something that looks like this. Again, you can fill this if you'd like. You can put the start fill, begin fill, end fill in the function itself, or you can put it just around the part when you're calling the square. But let's change it so that we can either draw a filled square or an unfilled square. So we'll do size, and then we'll create another parameter called filled. And so filled is going to be a Boolean variable that holds whether it's filled or whether it's not filled. So if filled is equal to true, again Boolean has true and false, then start filling. And end the filling. So let's create a square, 50, and then we'll set it to true. And we can also create an unfilled square. So we can call that, and then we'll create one with size 100. And then set this to false. And we have our squares. Now let's do the same thing for a star. So again, let's call this my star, and then we have the same size field if field is true, and then this is the code for a star. It's the same code we used for our final star in the first part of this video. Here is the code to actually draw our star. Let's set the color as gold, and then we'll draw this star here. And then let's also actually create an outline for this star. So we'll set the outline color to black, and then we'll create another star of the same size, but instead of filling it in, we won't fill it in, so the parameter will be false. So if we run this, we'll get a gold star with a black outline. Now that's all for this week's Python lesson. 2 more challenges. Try drawing an octagon and a filled octagon, and you can also try drawing another star function that has the size and the number of points, and it'll draw the star accordingly. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!